somewhere over the mountain. So, hi, we are the Parsons. I'm Tyler.
Mindy.
And this is one of our first videos, basically, for our new YouTube channel. And we are going to kind of share our story as to how we started this life of being on the road. So, let's talk first about the idea, or the first idea of hitting the road. So first of all, Mindy turned me on to a podcast.
It was the Family Adventure podcast.
And so we were both listening to that, and it was very inspiring, right?
Oh yeah, I wanted to live that life.
There was lots of families that were living a full-time life on the road in an RV. There was families that were doing, what else?
Like global traveling, just living all over the world, bouncing from country to country, or staying in one country but exploring it thoroughly. There was families that lived on boats.
Yeah.
There was a family that lived on bikes and traveled all around, all kinds of things. Just any family living a traveling lifestyle, but outside the norm, not just traveling for vacation, but traveling was their life.
Yeah, so we were both listening to that and kind of getting inspired. And around that same time, we had two different sets of friends that were kind of doing some different things. One family was building a home off-grid, completely off-grid, down in southern Utah. And that was kind of a dream of mine. And I think Mindy kind of shared that for a while. And so that was something that we were thinking about, looking towards eventually maybe selling our homes and paying down debt. And hopefully if real estate kept going up, we'd have enough money to then build off-grid somewhere, hopefully mortgage-free. That was the dream. So they were doing it, and I was a little jealous about that. And then we invited another family couple over for dinner one night, and we talked about their plans.
Yeah, they wanted to live in another country that was less expensive than suburbia America, and just have the experience of living abroad with their family.
And so all this stuff kind of came together and got us thinking. And along this same time, my work, I'm an IT professional, computer geek, and my work came out with a 100% work from home, remote work kind of policy that they started putting together. And so driving home one night, I thought about that, and I thought about, well, eventually if we're living off-grid somewhere, it's going to be somewhere outside of my work zone, so I would need to work remotely anyways. And we also talked about possibly renting out our house and then going and living somewhere less expensive, like a trailer park or an apartment complex, condo or something, to try and save up the difference for a while. So a lot of these things came together, and on the drive home I thought about, I'd been looking at converting a school bus into a trailer, into an RV, and I thought that was fun. And so on the drive home I thought, well, what if we did that? What if we converted our school bus and moved on the road and did that? So I came home and I told Mindy, I said, what would you say to converting a school bus into an RV and then living full-time on the road? And she said,
done, let's do it.
She's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the first steps of that idea. So then we started watching all these YouTube videos and doing our research on people that live full-time on the road. And there's some amazing YouTubers out there that shared their experience, and we were totally into it. They'll do the walkthroughs of their trailer and show us how they live, and so we got
quite a laugh out of a few of them. Yeah. It's just really interesting to see how other people live and what they choose to bring on the road with them, what their priorities are. But people would laugh if they saw what we brought too.
Probably.
So.
There was one lady that had clothes in every corner and nook and cranny, and there was no room for food. And the husband, he had a little box of clothes in the garage, the back room of the trailer.
Tiny little space.
It's like, this is my space, and everything else is the wife's. So that one was kind of funny. But so yeah, we were watching all these YouTube videos, and let's see, we thought we could be on the road in like 3 months, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we totally were like, oh, we can do it in 3 months. We decided against the school bus conversion.
Yeah. After going and looking at some buses and even test driving one, we decided that wasn't going to be our best option.
The primary reason was the pop-outs. Like on a regular trailer, pop-outs make them so much bigger, and on a bus conversion you don't have that. So you're living in this really narrow, thin little bus. Anyways, so we started looking at a trailer, and we decided to go with a fifth wheel and a truck to pull it. That way we're not having to tow behind another smaller vehicle to drive around. And we found one, where was it? Back east. Texas? That was, yeah, we found this in...
This one?
This one? Yeah, we found this in Dallas, around Dallas, Texas area. And so we drove down there to get it. It was a good deal. We saved a lot of money. We're local at the Salt Lake City, Utah area, and campers sell for a premium there, like significantly more than they sell back east. And we discovered that, and so we started looking back east, and we found this one. It was a good deal. We came and got it.
In Texas.
In Texas.
Not in east.
Well, Texas is east of Utah.
Okay, but you say back east and that.
Well, I was looking back east, including all the way to Florida and even up in Michigan, stuff like that. So, but anyway, so we came and got this one. We found our truck too, and that took us like a year of looking for those things to find them. Financing the house. In this whole time period, we started downsizing. Why don't you talk about that?
That was a pain in the butt. You do not realize how much stuff you have until you're really trying to live on just the absolute minimum. And you think of all the money that you've spent on all your stuff, and it just needs to go. For us, we never really spent much on furniture and things. We kind of had crappy stuff to begin with, so it wasn't really difficult to just say goodbye to it.
I still had a hard time saying goodbye to it though. Like, I had a couch that she hated. It was this red Lazy Boy recliner sofa, and I loved it.
Bye.
I bought it before we were married. I bought it brand new. I bought it like I had owned it like 10 years at least, and I loved it. Although we tried to sell it and we couldn't get anything for it.
Nobody wanted it.
And eventually we just had to give it away, and I was just like, man.
You thought it was gold.
Oh, I thought it was gold. Anyway, so, but imagine that, and then multiply that like a ton more times of every little thing in your house. Like the thing I tell people every once in a while is like plungers and toilet brushes. Like, we had 3 of them because we had 3 toilets in the house, and the idea of just those cost like $2, $3, $5, $10 each. So I mean, that's like $60, $70 right there in those 3 bathrooms and toilets and toilet brushes and plungers. And we got to get rid of them, and you can't give those away. Nobody wants them. So those went to the trash. But
yeah, in the end, on our last few days, I mean, we'd been downsizing for over a year, doing yard sales, donating, selling things online. But when it came down to it, we ended up just doing trip after trip to the dump. To the dump
and DI. As much as we could give to DI, we did.
Store.
Yeah, sorry, thrift store. We had we did a big giant yard sale in the summertime, and like nobody came because we lived up in a neighborhood that was way out of the way, and so it didn't really draw a lot of people, even if you had the newspaper ads and whatnot. So nobody came, and when they came, they didn't really buy anything, and we had so much to get rid of, and we were trying to sell it super cheap, but we just couldn't get rid of it. We started selling stuff on one of the local websites. It's called KSL, back where we're from, and it's like Craigslist. and we sold a bunch of the big money items there. I talked to my tax guy, and he told me I told him we're gonna be donating a ton of stuff this year, and I kind of told him what we were doing, and he said take photos of everything, and I was like, okay, and I'm so glad he told me to do that, because basically we'd have a yard sale, and at the end of the yard sale I would take photos of everything that we had that was out there, and then we'd pack it up and we'd take it to the thrift store. And then, a couple weeks later or a month later, we'd do it again. Anything that didn't sell, take the photos, pack it up. So the end of that year, it came down to it, and I think I had like $10,000 worth of donations that we kind of calculated. And we, the tax guy was like, oh, well, that's too much. The IRS isn't going to accept that. And without a, what was it?
Yeah, I don't know. You had to have it notarized.
Had to have an estimate by a professional appraiser. It had to be appraised. That's what it was. So I called around to some appraisers, like basically estate appraisers that will come in and appraise all the stuff in an estate, like the furniture and things. So I got a hold of someone, and I told them we'd already given all this stuff away, but I had all these photos, and she was willing to go through all the photos and appraise it based on the photos alone, and that saved us like 10 grand in taxes. It was incredible what that did for us. So if you're going to do what we're doing, and if you're going to give a lot of stuff away, take photos, get it appraised come tax season, and it'll be worth it. So we still had a bunch of stuff that we weren't going to take with us, some stuff that had emotional value, sentimental value, and some big money items, like our bed was really expensive, and we didn't want to have to rebuy a new bed. We had a piano from her grandma. We had stuff that we needed to store because we didn't have enough room in the trailer. We didn't have stuff. There was stuff that we just couldn't get rid of. You can't get rid of everything because you have sentimental value stuff, and you have we had some big money items that we just couldn't get rid of. It didn't want to get rid of.
We could have. We chose not to. In the end, if you think about, well, what's in that? What am I storing, and how much am I paying to store it every month? And can I sell this? I mean, when you add up the costs of what we're paying to store crap, you have to really stop and ask yourself, is it worth it to store this? Because by the time we're done with this, we're going to pay more for the storage than what it's worth. Maybe.
No, I don't think we will. So first of all, we had some sentimental value stuff that we wanted to store, and it was too much just to ask family members to store it in their basement, and so we were going to have to store it somewhere.
Right.
And what we ended up doing to save money, we had a three-car garage on our house. We ended up building a wall between the third-car garage and the two-car garage, and we put a locking door on it, and we decided to use that space in the house as our storage unit. And when we rented the property, we just wrote that in the contract that they couldn't use that space. So that's what we ended up doing to save on money. Which brings us to renting the house. We didn't really want to sell it because the market kept going up and up. And so we wanted to capitalize on the market going up. So we held on to our house and decided to rent it. Some neighbors told us how much rentals were going for in the area, and it shocked me, to be honest. Which that actually was another factor that was in our decision to even do this, was how much rentals were going up in the area. So, but our house wasn't ready to rent, right?
No.
Right.
There was a very long honey-do list.
Mm-hmm. We had started putting in wooden floors throughout, vinyl floor planks throughout the house, like the year before, and I hadn't finished that, so that was still had to be done in like half the house, and then trim work had to be done. We had a huge yard that was pretty much, it was grassed, but still mostly unfinished. So we had to finish the yard a little bit and then put in a fence, because in our neighborhood everybody had a fence and we didn't. So it kind of was like, we were thinking about it, and first of all, people wanted a fence when they rented the property, and second of all, if our renters didn't take very good care of the yard, we didn't want the city calling on us. And so having a fence in place made it better for us not being there if the renters didn't take great care of the yard. So we had to put in a fence. We did all that, and how long did it take us from the time of idea conception till the time that we actually hit the road?
Like a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, I think it was close to 2 years. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think it was.
So, do you remember when I said we thought we could do it in 3 months?
For us, that was not even close to reality.
So the funny thing is all these YouTubers that we were watching, when we would watch their first videos where they talked about this part of their life, they all said the same thing. They all said thought they could do it in 2 or 3 or 4 months, and they all took like a year or two to get on the road, right? And I used to think to myself, oh, we can do it. I know they thought they couldn't, but we totally can. But the truth is, we were just like everybody else. We had all these loose ends in our life that we had to basically tie up. So I talked about doing a lot of research on YouTube, like the kinds of things that we needed to own if we were full-time living in a trailer. Also, where we were going to live, like as we're on the road. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Why, you did all the research for the campground membership.
Because I feel like I'm doing all the talking. So.
Well, you kind of are, but you did all the research for the campground memberships.
All right.
So we wanted to live as cheaply as possible on the road because one of the main goals was to become financially independent. So we did not want this to turn into just one gigantic vacation where we were hemorrhaging money everywhere and spending more than we were actually spending living in a house in suburbia. So in order to do that, we obviously started doing a bunch of research and watching YouTube videos, and through that discovered camping memberships, and eventually decided on one called 1,000 Trails. And Tyler did all the research to find us a used membership that we could get at a discounted price.
Okay, so we did our research and we found this membership called 1,000 Trails, which is a camping ground membership where you pay upfront a big fee for the membership, and then you pay an annual maintenance fee. And in doing so, we can basically stay in all these campgrounds for free. And I think we have access to about 100 or so.
The disadvantage to it is that the campgrounds, there's only specific campgrounds, so you can't go anywhere you want. If you're trying to do what we're doing, which is save money, you can only camp at certain locations. Which is a problem if you want to be a tourist and see certain things, or if you need internet in certain locations, because a lot of the 1,000 Trails do not have good internet signals, good cell phone signals, and that has been a real problem.
Well, it depends on the part of the country though. So in the Northeast we found very hard internet signals up there. But yeah, so we could camp for free in the country, but all the campgrounds are either on the West Coast, East Coast, or a little bit along the southern border. There's nothing really in the middle, and there's nothing really in the northern middle. But it was how we could live for fairly cheap, and so that's what we've done. We've been living 1,000 Trails, and only once in a while do we jump out of that and go stay somewhere else. And usually that's because there's just no 1,000 Trails option for us, or we're traveling through an area where there isn't a 1,000 Trails option. So I might do another video later on about 1,000 Trails and our experience with that. There's some other YouTubers that have talked a lot about it, but it feels like everybody kind of has a little different experience with it, so it might be beneficial to share ours on that. So, and then Mindy pointed on something earlier about internet. I work full-time still, and so I work remotely, but I have to be online all day long. So we have to have really good internet, and I'm on call a lot, which means I can receive phone calls and text messages in the middle of the night, after hours, weekends, and I've got to be able to jump on and handle some servers and some issues. And so internet was really huge. So we did a ton of research on internet too, and we're saving a lot of money in a lot of other areas of our life, but on internet we're paying through the nose, just to be sure that we have really good internet and that we have a lot of options so that we aren't stuck without internet. And I think I'll go into another video on that, but that was a huge, I had to upfront a lot of money for some of the things that we've got in the trailer to make sure we have good internet. Some of those have not worked out and it cost us a lot of money, so they're kind of bad decisions that I regret. But others have been pretty good decisions that have really panned out. So right now we use Verizon for all of our phones, and we can hotspot our phones, but we don't have unlimited data with those. We got that 22 meg cap, and then they start, throttling us. But I was able to find some plans that are really hard to find actually, but they're out there for AT&T and Sprint Wi-Fi devices. So basically we're covered with 3 of the cell phone carriers, and if we can do AT&T or Sprint, that's what we use because we have truly unlimited with them. But Sprint's not everywhere, and we only recently got the AT&T because we came to a spot where AT&T worked and nothing else did, and so we had to bite the bullet and get a third carrier. But so internet was a huge thing, and as a part of convincing my manager to let me travel, because working remotely is one thing, but traveling was a little bit another thing, and convincing him that would be okay, I had to basically, do everything in my power to make sure I had good connectivity everywhere we went. So that was a big part of it. So 2 years in, let's talk here, we're down here. So 2 years in, we rented the house and we hit the road. Our first 2 weeks we were just living in a trailer park right by our house, basically. One in a town called Tooele. We stayed in another place just in North Salt Lake, campground in North Salt Lake. It was a pretty nice campground actually. So we were there for 2 weeks, and then we finally hit the road for reals, and we went to Yellowstone as our first stop.
Yep.
So
started out with a bang.
The wife and I have been there many times, and
the wife and
the wife and I, you're the wife and I'm the I. We'd been there many times, but we had young kids still, and they hadn't been there so many times, so it was new to them.
That, and we didn't get on the road until July.
Yeah.
So the whole time we were mapping and planning this, even after it had taken us almost 2 years, we really thought we were going to be out in March.
Yeah.
Then it was going to be April. Then it was going to be May. And then it was going to be June. And we didn't actually hit the road until July. So all this time we were planning, we were actually planning to go somewhere else. But since it was July, when we finally hit the road, it was too blasted hot where we wanted to start out. And so we said, forget it, let's go north. And so we changed our plans almost last minute, and that's why.
Because originally we were planning to go head south, right, and kind of head to Texas, because we wanted to eventually get to Florida and then go north along the eastern coast so that we could end up in Maine for that fall. She always wanted to be in Maine for fall, so that was our plan. But then it took us too long to get out, and it was too hot to go south. So like she said, last minute we decided we're going north. So we went straight north.
Which worked out great because Yellowstone was a fabulous way to start this RV life. Saying goodbye from somewhere over the mountain.
Yeah. Somewhere over the mountain, that's our name. Maybe we should have talked about that a little bit.
Oh, maybe.
Alright, well we can talk about it now, and I can edit it to the beginning of the video. So, alright, so little editing, post-editing, we're going to talk about the name of our site. So we wanted to have a website, YouTube channel, Instagram account, and we lived in the Utah Valley, in the Salt Lake Valley in Utah, which we're surrounded by mountains, the Rocky Mountains. And she came up with the idea of, well, we came up with tons. But,
lots of ideas. It was almost like naming a child all over again. If I loved a name, he hated it. If he loved a name, I hated it. So.
But then we'd go and look for if it was available. That was a big problem. We'd come up with names that were awesome, but then somebody else had taken them, online somewhere. So eventually she came up with Somewhere Over the Mountain, kind of like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I guess. But she said it doesn't matter whether we're home or whether we're off traveling. To us, we're always somewhere over the mountain. And I thought that was pretty cool. So that's our name. So Somewhere Over the Mountain. So, all right, so how can we turn that into a goodbye catchphrase? So from us, Somewhere Over the Mountain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See you next time from Somewhere Over the Mountain.
See you next time from Somewhere Over the Mountain.
Let's hope that it recorded.